let's talk about system mechanics. Anyone who's been in any of the betas for Guilty Gear Strive knows that they were definitely scrambling really hard to try and get the game in a decently fun state. And I do think that the Strive's release build is the most fun build of the game from the betas that I played. But there's a lot of mechanics that they clearly just kind of rushed on and didn't really know what to do with, and they're just kind of lingering in the game. There's also a lot of system mechanics that aren't really, I personally just like really dislike, and I don't know why they're in the game. And we're just going to kind of talk about them. And the first one we're going to talk about is going to be the one that I think is the most untapped potential, and of course this is Instant Block, which in the initial betas didn't even do anything. It just built meter, which, to be honest with you, a more lenient IB that just built meter would be more useful than the one we have right now. Not that I think it would be better, because that's a really bland system mechanic. And I really hate this personally, because I think Faultless and IB in combination is what makes Guilty Gear's offense and defense so beautiful. And it's my biggest disdain for Strive, is that that doesn't exist in this game. The blend of offense and defense is just gone. You don't get to react to how people are defending your attacks and create new offense, really. You just kind of do your string with the intent of what it was going to be initially. Like, I'm going to knock him down, and then I'm going to go for a tick throw. And it's just, you just do it. That's your string. You're not adapting on the fly. You're not constantly changing your decision. You commit to what your offense was going to be. And a lot of people compare this game a bit to Street Fighter V, and it does feel that way. It is very similar, because you just have moves where it's like, okay, he blocked this. I don't have anything else I can do after that. My standing medium punch, very Street Fighter V, standing medium punch. Only instead of having links into that, you just do, I mean, unless you're Soul, you can do that whenever you want, but that's what makes Soul so broken. Imagine in Street Fighter V if you had a character that could just keep doing a standing medium punch forever. That's essentially what Soul is. Only instead of being +2, it would be like +1. You could technically challenge it or something like, or like +0. I don't know what the frames are in Street Fighter V these days, but it feels like that. Where instead of canceling the moves, you just have like really late cancels and be like, I am frame trapping you. Oh, I didn't frame trap you. I ran up with it. It feels like Street Fighter V. It plays like a Street Fighter game, which I'm okay with, but it's definitely not Guilty Gear. As opposed to having like intricate, you know, block strings where, you know, you're adapting to what your opponent is doing. And as it stands right now, because it's basically just, you have these canned strings that you can do, throw is very strong, because it's really your only option. But at the same time, they're also stupidly strong. That's the interesting thing. I felt the same way about Street Fighter V, where it was like, I both thought mechanics were both too strong and too weak at the same time. Like, backdash in this game is the weakest backdash has ever been. But at the same time, it's stupidly strong against certain characters, Kai especially. Kai really has a hard time stopping, like, wake up backdash in mid-screen, because he really can't stop you from doing it. May's backdash, for some reason, is faster. But at the same time, backdashes are really weak, because they don't have a lot of invincibility. But they have enough. I'm getting totally off topic, kind of. This is all sort of interconnected. And these lack of defensive mechanics just make, and lack of offensive options makes the offensive defense very bland and very predictable and very samey. And much like Street Fighter V, the way to keep your offense is to do a move that's plus. Now, Kai obviously doesn't really have a lot of those, but that's what Shock State's for. You know, it's like, oh yes, I can do this, and I can risk getting hit if they were mashing, but I can gain plus frames and then continue my turn. And this game is very much about forcing your turn. If you go against Chip, that's basically all Chip's doing. He's just constantly putting plus frames out. And in an amusing twist, they didn't want IB in this game to be strong, because they didn't want you to have a prerequisite to blocking defense. So they were like, no, we're just going to do Street Fighter style stuff. And the irony is, you probably block more in this game than you do in other Guilty Gear games. I can tell you for a fact, a lot of players went in Plus R and Rev 2, went long periods of time doing everything in their power to avoid blocking. Because no one likes blocking. I love blocking. My favorite character to play against in this game is Zato, because I actually get to block for long periods of time. It feels like I'm playing Guilty Gear. Zato is probably the most Guilty Gear character in this game. So anyways, that's essentially the gist of it, is offense is weaker, defense is weaker, but right now offense is stronger. And that's the problem. Because there's no creative defense. And if you make defense in this game stronger by buffing Faultless, by buffing IB, you're probably going to have to buff offense as well. And we're going to try and keep this all interconnected so we can kind of get like a vision for what I would do with the game in its current state. Obviously, if it was up to me, this game would be a little bit more Guilty Gear than Street Fighter. Right now, it's probably more Street Fighter than Guilty Gear, but your experience may vary. Anyways, so let's talk about Faultless and IB. Faultless is both good and bad. I've been slowly using it more because it does have its uses, but it's weaker than it's ever been in terms of like the amount that it pushes out. Seems to be really not that great. Like if I have him Faultless, I suppose I should just have him do this, huh? That'd be professional. Like, this isn't that much of a distance change. Like, if you were to do a wake up Faultless... Oh, he's gonna DP, isn't he? Like, if you Faultless, like, jams 5k, for instance, she goes, like, probably all the way up to, like, here. But from here, she can still do Far Slash. And then she can instant air dash back in. You can't do that in this game. So, if you make Faultless too strong, people are just gonna get pushed out. And I don't really have a problem with the way Faultless is in this game. You can't make the offense, you can't make the defense mechanics as strong as they were in prior games. But IB doesn't really do anything. It's just kind of there. Because it's 2 frames, man. 2 frames? That is an insane execution requirement. Which is fine if it was worth the risk. It has the execution requirements of both slashback and red parries from third strike. Red parries 2 or 3 frames, depending on what you're red parrying, but none of the reward. Not only is it have the execution requirements of those mechanics, but it also is worse than IBs have ever been, while being 3 to 4 times harder than prior IBs. It doesn't reduce frame advantage, but I personally think it should. I think variable frame data in an anime game is one of the most important aspects. The only thing, it does change landing recovery, so you can still, act immediately. But like, it's not helpful very often. It's nice that there's some frame data change, but in my personal opinion, it should be changing frame data. It should be doing something. Right now, it's really difficult to execute with very little reward. And what makes it so frustrating is, like, I play Kai, and Kai is very punishable. And if they put IB in the game, as a Kai player, I'm telling you right now, I would be the most nerfed character in the game. Because every move... One of the biggest design decisions of this game is that conversions are easy. People convert from far range buttons all day. I can make a whole video talking about that. And because of that, moves that are easy to IB, even with this 2-frame window, like Stun Dipper, I can IB the second to Stun Dipper consistently, because it's a very canned timing. So you can do that. But people don't need to, because they can punish it from tip range, even without IBing it. Most characters can, which is just nutty. And not only can they convert, they usually convert into like 50%. So the fear to making IB good is that, like, first off, IB doesn't change frame rate, it doesn't do anything, it doesn't really build much meter, it doesn't increase tension pulse. I don't even know if that's in this game. It just doesn't do much. And the fear I think they had is that if we make IB easy to execute, this becomes easy to execute. And that is a fear, because this is an actually strong mechanic that we don't see very often because it's so hard to execute. Because this would be very strong. If you could do this on command, offense would be basically impossible. Your entire game would just be throws. Because this is crazy strong. Like, look at the distance here. That's crazy. So it needs to be executionally difficult. I understand that. But IB itself is so weak that IB Faultless is the only reason to really do it. And it's such a shame, because if you changed IB, it would fix a lot of the cast that is really strong right now. Or at least make them trickier. Because, like, you could add a throw to that, so if he starts delaying his, like, stand H to try and hit confirm, and you could IB it on reaction, you know, Soul player might actually have to, like, think for a second. God, it's so hard to IB this. This one move. God, it's so hard. You know, he's still plus. He can still avoid that, but it's something, another layer he's gonna have to think about. And if you change frame advantage, suddenly he'd be like, even if you just did a really blanket thing, like made it much like Faultless, where it's just +2, just make it -2. -2 advantage. Now he'd be +0. Those sorts of things would go such a long way in making the game interesting, but if that could also make certain characters really busted. But I do think IB would make so much of a difference. This is how ridiculous his far slash is, by the way. Even if you IB Faultless, he doesn't even get pushed out. But, yeah. I understand their hesitation because they're scared of IB Faultless. But I think you should probably just tweak both mechanics in some way, because IB should be usable. It needs to be able to be used. Even if it just builds, like, tension or something, it needs to be doing something. Make it more lenient. Make it weaker. I don't care. Just make it a mechanic that actually functions for a purpose. Something you could do is maybe, if you keep doing, like, make it more lenient, and maybe the first IB you do doesn't change the frame data. But if you do, like, consecutive IBs in a row, it starts changing frame data, right? It goes from, like, you know, no change, -2, -4. It's like, and it just keeps progressing, right? The more things you IB, the more advantage you would get. This would be useful against, like, certain, if people kept doing, again, far slash, far slash, far slash. If you keep IBing it, if IB was easier to do, and you kept IBing it, you know, you'd be able to gain advantage from doing so, right? And here's the thing, right? IB has a 2-frame window. Now, this game doesn't have Gatlings, so offense is a lot more linear. So the timings should be more predictable. Now, something with a 2-frame window, anyone who's played Third Strike knows this, that red parries are the very last skill set you get. If this game did not change balance-wise in, like, a year, people would probably start IBing with relative consistency, because they would just get used to the character timing, you know? Ba, 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 ba. You know, it's all just timing. Ba, 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 ba. But it's still really hard. I know I practiced this against some string, and it took me like 20 minutes to Faultless, or IB like 6 hits in a row. You know, it's really hard to do. But in Third Strike, you get that skill set eventually because you just get so used to the tempo of the games, to the timings of the strings. And Third Strike is a game all about timing. That is what that game is about. Timing, patience, punishment. That is the entirety of Third Strike. In this game, there's something in this game that Third Strike doesn't have that's really important here, and that's essentially infinite cancelable frame. The timing is never going to be the same, which makes going for an already really unrewarding mechanic that's already executionally difficult even less appealing, because you could screw up the timing. And with a 2-frame window, if you're specifically going for IBs, yeah, you have to hit back instead of forward, but you could still get hit for doing that. Because what if they cancel it really fast and you went for an IB and you just got plucked because you thought they were going to go blop, blop? This IB mechanic doesn't make sense. In the context of this game, an IB mechanic that's this strict makes no sense with the reward that it has. If they want IB to be like this, it needs to have insane reward. This thing should be functioning like a slashback. Like, complete reversal of frame advantage. No pushback, no nothing. To be honest with you, I'd rather have slashback in this game. That would be more useful. Anyways, that's essentially my thoughts on IB, is it needs to be changed. I think you should make it more lenient. I think you should make it, if you don't want it to change frame data, I think it should change frame data on consecutive attempts. Maybe have like a guard bar that is specifically for IB or something that just increases over time. I have no idea what you could be doing. Consecutive blocks makes IB stronger. There's so many things you could do to make IB more useful. You could just increase its meter build, make it so it gives you positive bonus, which I think it does if you get like 7 of them. But with the current IB, good luck with that. And of course, they have to be worried, right? They have to be worried because they included this mechanic in the game. And this isn't old Guilty Gear. You can't jump cancel most of your normals, so you can't just re-air dash back in if you see something like this happen, you know? Can you imagine in this game if you could readily do this every single time you wanted? The game would just be nothing but neutral with no pressure whatsoever, because people would just do this on Wake Up every time. Although I don't even know if you can do this on Wake Up. I think I tried once and I could not get it to come out on Wake Up, but it could just be because it's a 2-frame window. Well, the CPU can do it, so that means player can probably do it, maybe. But yeah, IB is really strong. Or, excuse me, really weak. And I think in a really bad place. Because I love IB. The combination of IB and Faultless is perfect. It's probably my 2 favorite mechanics in fighting games. They complement each other perfectly, and they make so much sense. Anyways, that's enough about IB. Let's move on to a different mechanic in the game. Simple one, Dust. I think Dust is fine. A lot of people want Charge Dust to be more negative. It's reactable. It's a reactable overhead. I really don't have an issue with this. I think it should stay the way it is. If you want like slightly less pushback, that's fine. But again, if you made IB easier, you could IB it, you know? So if you change system mechanics, you wouldn't have to change it. If they keep it as it is, yeah, maybe. As Kai, I'm a little biased because I can actually punish this on block against any character with 2S, but you know. So Dust is fine. I really don't have that much of an issue with it. Except for what we're going to talk about next, which is roaming cancels. Roaming cancels are so good. They're busted. But they're good. One of the biggest issues with this game is conversions are so easy. It's so easy to just convert off of like any hit, which is just crazy. So roaming cancels are both really good and really bland at the same time. Meter is like everything in this game, and unlike prior Guilty Gear games, which had what I consider to be some of the best meter systems in fighting games, tension made so much sense, the way it was built, the way it was used, the multiple thresholds in which meter was useful. If you have just 25% meter, we'll use Rev 2 as an example, 25% meter, You could YRC, you could blitz 50% meter, you could YRC twice, you could blitz twice, you could use a super, you could use red Roman cancel, PRC, 75% meter, you could do a super into a YRC, you could YRC 3 times, yada yada. 100% meter is essentially a free card to do whatever you want, and in this game it still is. You can still just freely super, and if it doesn't work out, do whatever you want. But I think this game kind of misses the mark on meter. First off, meter builds very fast. I have to actually point out, we'll shift, hold on a second on Roman cancel. Let's talk about another mechanic. Positive bonus. I have to say, I kind of snicker a little bit, and this is one of the reasons I actually think I enjoy Strive so much, even though I think mechanically it's kind of weak. In an era of modern fighting games where comeback mechanics are the core mechanic in every single goddamn game, they're everywhere. Soul Calibur had Soul Charge, we had Street Fighter 5 with V-Trigger, Street Fighter 4, Ultras. I don't know how strong the comeback mechanic of Fighters was, but I know it could also be used defensively. Just comeback mechanics are everywhere. And then Strive came along and was like, you know what? We don't need comeback mechanics. Let's put a snowball mechanic in the game instead. Guilty Gear Strive is like the most snowbally fighting game. Let's put a mechanic in the game that gives you access to basically another bar of meter. The winner keeps on winning, and I appreciate that. I think it's broken, but I appreciate that. It's really broken, because meter is so strong in this game. Anyways, that's just a little tangent. I don't really have much to say about positive bonus. I do think negative bonus needs to be out of the game, quite frankly. I've actually hit negative bonus a couple times. I'm hitting it less the more I'm getting used to the game, but I still try and play in a way that gets me a negative penalty. It never gave me negative penalties in the old games, but the fact it's here at all is kind of weird. So back to Roman cancel. That was just a weird tangent. I just want to point that out. I think positive bonus is a little crazy in a game that's so achievable, it's so easy to get, and it just steamrolls the game because the damage output is so high. It's like, not only do you have to deal with someone having 1,000,000 meter, like they probably already have more meter than you anyway because they just got a wall break, but then they're about to get even more, and then even if you start hitting them, the positive bonus just makes the meter they build for getting hit even more. So they're going to build like a full bar from getting hit, and it's like, good luck dealing with that. So yeah, meter build, kind of crazy. But at the same time, meter is necessary for this game to be interesting at all, and that's because Roman cancel is the only interesting mechanic in this game. Everyone knows Roman cancel in this game is actually really neat. It's kind of broken. It's kind of stupidly strong. So we're gonna go in order here. I personally don't like Red RC very much. I don't like Red RC. I think it's too simple. The little pop-up is really kind of bland, and it doesn't have a lot of damage scaling on it. It does, but in this game it doesn't. Like, that's still 40% off of like anything. And I can easily, using in complement with the last mechanic we talked about, I can easily get a steamroll mechanic from like anywhere on screen. Kai probably can't do it from this distance, but Soul could definitely get a corner. Soul could definitely do that for 50% meter. So you basically get that meter back, which is kind of silly. I just don't like the pop-up. I think it just makes combos too bland and too uninteresting. Which is why what we're going to talk about next is actually fast RCs. I want fast RCs to be more prominent in this game. Right now you don't see them very often because why spend your meter on that? Like, this is like burst proof, you know? It gives you all the time in the world to react. You can just run forward. Are they going to burst? Are they not? And then even if they don't, you know, it's like, oh, I can still keep my combo going, yada yada. I think it's really bland. I want fast RCs to be more prominent both in combos and otherwise, because fast RCs are like really neat. And like, they allow you to do cool combos like that, and it's like, well, boy, wouldn't it be interesting if like this was efficient in the slightest. Because like, you have all this drifting and stuff, but it's just not useful. You know, you have all these mechanics that allow you to utilize things, but you don't get to use it very much. Because the drift can be used even on a fast RC, which could allow you to do some interesting things if you really wanted to. It allows you to build, like, momentum. I don't think Kai really has a momentum building air move, but you know what I mean. There's a lot of interesting ways that you could utilize it, and it's not really being utilized at all, because why would you? Why would you? When you could just red RC, I mean, for Kai has to spend all his meter on super, which I like the fact he has a super. Like, this is a very interesting thing that he has. I can just get a wall break whenever I want. The problem is, every character in the game can break the wall with 50% meter from anywhere on the screen. But he gets an actual hard knockdown from it. Kind of weird. I like that he has that as a mechanical option, but the fact that everyone else can get pretty much the same thing is kind of bland. So I want to see more fast RCs. And I'm trying to think about how you could balance this mechanically and not make it overwhelming. Now, again, we're trying to keep this all... Imagine every system change I've already stated is like in the game, right? Faultless is better because IB is better, so you can do IB Faultless more. Now let's talk about fast RCs being more prominent, because yeah, you have fast RCs that you could do cool combos with, which I would love to see more of and have actually be like mildly efficient, but then there's also like block strings that you could do with fast RCs you just don't see, you know, very often. There's so many different things you could be doing with this that you just don't see because it's so meter intensive. With 50%, you could be doing so much damage. Instead, you're using it to open stuff up. And I think that's a little bland. It's especially weird when you have, like, blue RCs, which don't do anything, right? The blue RC is probably the strongest RC in the game, but only the slowdown is strong about it. Like, a fast RC on blue doesn't really do anything. So my proposal here is... They clearly do not want... The meter build in this game is really high. If they want to keep it that way, that's fine. My proposal here is fast RCs should cost 50% to use, but immediately give you back 25% or 50% of that. So you go back to... You need 50% meter to activate it, but you get half of that back. Maybe unsuccessful hit, or maybe you just get it back, period. This would stop you from having to deal with, like, the YRC bullshit of Xrd, where people can just fucking YRC and, like, air throw you. But on instant cancel, you can't do it. But people could be slowing time down all the time and reacting to stuff, which would be obnoxious. But with this, they'd still need 50%. And then they're still limited to cancel options from this, right? And they have to do it immediately. I think this would be kind of fair, and it would allow people to spend their meter more wisely on this. Because if you have 75% meter, that would give you access to a fast RC and a regular RC. Because you would spend 50%, get 25% back, then have 50% again, so you could do another RC. So you could basically do this right here. And then you could start a combo from that. And if you really wanted to, you could do that exact thing and then fast RC again. You wouldn't be able to RC until you got another 25%, but you would have 25% meter left over. I do think if you change this mechanic to be like this, you would probably have to add scaling off of fast RC in some capacity, because then it might be a little too strong. But I think it would make the game more interesting, because we can all agree RC is the most interesting mechanic in this game, and I would love to see it used more. You really only see it used right now for mechanical reasons, but if I could be doing like fast RC shit, you know, and doing all sorts of wonky shit, it would make the game so much better. 100%. Fast RCs need to be in this game more prominently, and right now they are completely absent because you can make block strings in this game intricate and interesting and dynamic. If you make these mechanics all interconnected in an interesting way, the game would be so much better. You know? And not only that, it's also like executionally difficult to do this shit. So it's like, imagine a game where like doing a block string is actually something that people are like, wow, that's like not easy to do. And not easy to defend against. And if you lower damage in this game as a whole, all of this stuff would be happening more often, and you'd see it more, and it would be pretty hype and very different from prior Guilty Gears, if I may say so. This is my proposal personally. Other than that, I don't really have a lot to say about RCs. I think Blue RC is busted, but you don't see it a lot yet because it's still better to spend your meter on damage than it is mix-ups. But Blue RC is so busted. The slowdown on this is insane. The mix-up option, insane. Essentially, Blue RC allows you to do all the things I'm talking about. But it, you still have to kind of like wean your way into it. It's a weird mechanic. I'm not a huge fan of it. What else do we gotta talk about? I do like the RC system. What else? I'll get a little sip of water here. Don't want to talk about bursts. As a Kai player, I will say, I probably talk about this when I talk about Kai specifically, but Kai has to bait burst more than any other character because his damage is so low. As a Kai player, I am baiting burst probably twice a round. Because if a player knows what they're doing, unless I steamroll them, and if I have to go back to neutral more than like once in a game, Kai's neutral is kind of slow and patient, and he has to kind of just play around what his opponent's doing because he's not good at keeping people out or threatening space. So like I have to constantly be baiting burst because by the time I get back in, they have burst again. So burst, if you lower damage in this game, you're gonna have to also lower burst build. Because right now, burst builds so fast. Honestly, your benefit. I see a lot of people doing this all the time because meter's so strong in this game. People just gold burst. Take the game. Take the game from that. Because it's so easy to bait burst in this game, but at the same time really hard. Because some characters, you literally can't burst on like 99% of her combo routes, so you just kind of have to hold it. But burst might need to be tweaked if you change the rest of the mechanics. What else do we want to talk about? We can talk about throws. Throws are kind of broken, but they're necessary. Because if you took throws away, offense in this game would be... Like, as Kai, what would I even do to open my opponent up? Build 50% and go for a reactable dust? I guess that would be my offense. So, I don't know what to do with throws currently. Because if you increase the tech window, they'd be so easy to tech on reaction. If you... I'm not a big fan of the way defense works in this game. And there's almost no throw invincibility in this game whatsoever. And I think that's really silly. I don't know why it's that way. Well, I do know why. I know what we're going to talk about. I know exactly what we're going to talk about. I'm going to reel into the asshole, and I'm going to use that word full stop. I forget his name. Is it Skiegh? Is Skiegh working on this game? I don't remember. Is he on it? We know it's a grappler player. Who is it? No, Skiegh wasn't a grappler player. What am I talking God damn it, I can't remember. Whoever's in charge of Guilty Gear, we know there's a grappler player involved. There are so many mechanics in this game that you know were built by a grappler player. There's very low throw invulnerability. Very low throw invul. You can basically get thrown after every situation, no matter what. Even if you're like mashing buttons, there's no throw invul on wake up. You can just fucking meaty throw after like 2 seconds. There's Fafnir, which for whatever reason, this mechanic, this stupid, Can he like wild throw you? Because you could be thrown during guard break. Can he like... He can't fast RC throw you, can he? I can't even get to fast RC on throw to work. Does that work? I can't even do it. What is happening? Hold on. Can you not fast RC into a throw? Into a command grab? Maybe they thought of that. No, I've seen Potemkin do it, because you can do it in neutral. But I don't think you can. You not cancel into it? No, you can't. Okay. I just suck. Okay. I don't know if this works. Because doesn't this... Can't you be like directly throw it out of that shit? I don't know. I know Potemkin... I should probably be playing Potemkin for this. Anyways. Yeah, you have fucking guard break, which is the dumbest mechanic in this game. Probably the dumbest mechanic in this game. It literally turns the game off. This game with like no defensive mechanics, let's just take those out. You know, you can't do anything. Let's make the... Definitely made by a grappler player. Let's put a mechanic in the game where you can be thrown out of it. All you can do is block or guess jump. That's it. You can't use reversals. You can't do anything. You're just stuck there. Just a million frames of blocks on that you can be thrown out of. That's so stupid. And it's so achievable by most characters. Like, Potemkin can get it on you off of pretty much every single hit he gets. And it just makes the game so stupid. I would like that mechanic to be... I'm fine with it existing. It should just be more rare. Right? It's so... I'm not a fan of any mechanic that disallows the use of the majority of the mechanics in your game. The fact I can't do anything here, like Fafnir's one isn't so bad, but Potemkin's is so egregious that I just it eats me up inside when it happens. So you have Guard Crush, which has thing, and then you have this mechanic, the dumbest. This might be the dumbest mechanic. I don't know how I feel about this. Command grabs can't be thrown. They beat throws. They are throw invul. The only character in the game I think this is justifiable on might be Potemkin and like Faust's command grab, because Faust is... His command grab doesn't do a lot of damage. This mechanic is so... In a game where throws are so strong and your ways to avoid... And I guess especially against Potemkin, where he also has a really good strike game that's plus with his close slash, like, you are just stuck in a worst case scenario. Yeah, you could backdash, but if you did anything else, you die. And if you like panic throw, like, you just explode. This was made by somebody who was like, I played Makoto in Third Strike, and I thought it was a really cool mechanic that her Karakusa actually auto-techs command grab, or auto-techs throws. You know, that stupid, dumb... Let's take a command grab that's already the best command grab in the game, that you can win an entire game on with a single command grab, and also make it auto-tech throws. And I'm going to be honest with you, if command grabs in this game just auto-tech throws, I actually wouldn't mind. That would be fine. But the fact that they're immune, specifically like Soul, does Soul need this? I don't think he needs this. The appeal to a command grab is that they are untechable, right? I can't tech this throw. It opens me up if he does it. If you want, there's a lot you would have to change to tweak this. Personally, I don't, like, there's not a lot of plus frames, but you can still set this up. And it does so much damage. But regular throws also do a lot of damage. I personally think this mechanic is silly. I think all of these mechanics were created by a grappler, and Potemkin's never been more annoying to play against. I really dislike it. Every single time I have to deal with it. Every single time I get command grabbed through a throw that I did is just infuriating. It's one thing if it's a super... Again, Potemkin having this is fine, because Potemkin's command grab is actually slower than it used to be, I believe. I think it's 5 frames startup. I think it used to be 3, right? Am I wrong? I know it wasn't 2. But that's just me. I think that command grab's silly. Maybe Nagayuki's being like that, but again, if they auto-tech throws, I would be fine with it. I actually do have an issue with Nagayuki because of his throw, actually. After his little spin, he kind of has you in this little mix-up option. Depending on the character you're playing, you can't really mash afterwards. And that move in general seems like it has like RNG plus frames on it. It's so weird. But I would personally change that. I don't like this obnoxious. I don't want him command grabs to be, I would rather command grabs were just faster and I could jump them or throw them on reaction or something than this obnoxious, or did more damage. I don't know. There's so many things you could do, but pretty much every mechanic in this game wants you to be throwing people. Low throw involved across the board. Probably some of the lowest I've seen in a fighting game in a long time. Low throw involved. Guard crush, you can be thrown out of it, shuts off all mechanics. All you can do is burst. Command grabs have throw involved for some reason. DPs, also, no throw involved. Everything in this game was made by a grappler. He knew what he was doing. He was like, yeah, no, DPs, I hate dealing with that. Let's just no throw involved. And I'm gonna be honest, DPs in this game and the combination with the RC system, which makes doing combos from them like really good, is strong. So I'm okay with that, I guess. And I do enjoy throwing Soul when he does it, because his DP is busted. But yeah, everything in this game is kind of catered towards grapplers on that. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm just ranting about it. I don't really have a lot to say on changes. I just think it's really dumb, and I noticed the trend that everything was made for grapplers, and, you know, fuck them. I didn't make a game specifically for my archetype. Mostly because I don't really have an archetype. My archetype changes in every game I play. That's kind of true. What else? What else do I have to talk about? I feel like there was one thing else. We talked about... I mean, there's like loose things I could talk about, like hitbox design. I think this game's hitbox design is the weakest it's ever been. I'd turn on hitboxes, but then they'd be stuck there. Yeah, hitboxes in this game are kind of wonky. I don't like how big the jump hurt boxes are. The fact that, like, and in combination with this juggle system, the fact that I can just, like, I don't know. The fact that I can just do this is, like, silly to me. And then you can get, like, a full combo off of it. And, like, Soul, I mean, I don't like this that much. I do think I'm fine with, like, anti-airs working. I want anti-airs to be working as much as possible. But I think it's silly that you can just, like, panic jab anti-air and it kind of beats a lot of buttons in the game because you don't jump very high in this game. So like, this is why Soul's 5K is even more obnoxious because you really can't jump over it unless you super jump. And this is why characters like Mei are really good because they jump high enough to get over a lot of these obnoxious things and then they can come down. Just jump normals in general are probably the weakest they've ever been, but at the same time, it's very Street Fighter 5-y. Technically, Soul's 5K loses, from a hitbox perspective, it loses to jump normals, right? But you're never going to be at the height where that is the case, you know? From the height where that is going to be the case, you're going to be in range of it. And even if you were above it, you can't really whiff punish it or you're going to get fucking hit by it. Because his 5K has a hurt box that extends above its hitbox. So technically, it should lose to most jump ends, but it still won't. Because it's fast. That's what you use. You use arm reaction. I'm not a big fan of the whole 5P into a full combo shtick that you can very easily confirm. The fact that Ramlethal can 5P me or close slash me and has like 1,000 different anti-air options just with any button and then can carry me all the way to the corner into a wall break, I think it's a little obnoxious. I want more anti-air combo routes. Make 6P's jump cancel. I don't care. Just I don't like getting panic jab into a full combo. I think it's kind of silly. And not that I want to jump in like a lunatic either. It's just it's silly to me that I can't really stop that. I've been slowly finding ways around it in general. I actually just don't press buttons in the air anymore. I just jump. I just jump and don't press a button. Which kind of leads me to the other mechanic in this game, which is that jumping is really strong still, but also it's necessary because offense in this game can be so like plus frame, plus frame, plus frame, plus frame. You kind of need it to be strong because otherwise you're just going to be stuck. Like if I had to flawless every time I wanted to jump out, you know, that would drain my meter really fast, and faultless eats a ton of meter. Which kind of leads me to my other thing in this, which is jump air throw, right? I kind of wish jump air throw had less recovery on it. I kind of wish it would just whiff and then you could do something afterwards. Instead, you're stuck in a full recovery. I don't think it should be. I think you should recover. Kind of like, maybe not as fast as like Kai's jump K, but like his jump S. Where he could like technically do something afterwards. I think that should be fine. Because I think it's kind of silly that you can get punished for going for an air throw in a game where you can literally block everything in the game. It's hard because on one hand, it's like if Soul tries to jump out, like Kai can easily reel him back in with 2H, you know, and that's really strong. So I don't know, that's hard to say. It's so intricate to make a fighting game, man. If you change one thing, you have to change something else, and it really is just like this daisy chain effect. Everything has to get touched. So I'm really not sure what to do with that. I just don't like that I have to get punished on throws. But speaking of throws, throw RC is like so obnoxious to deal with. Once you get 50%, throws are just like freebies. But at the same time, it's not the worst, because you can RC on reaction. It's basically a benefit, same way YRC kind of allows you to do the same thing. Oh, he jumped my thing. I'll react. But because of the slowdown, it's really hard to deal with. But it's fine. We'll have to wait on that. I don't think it's too obnoxious yet. We'll see. It's something else I wanted to talk about. I thought about it, and then I was like, no, I'll talk about that in a second. I feel like it involved jumping. Damn, I can't remember. I can't remember what it was. Is there any of the mechanics I need to talk about? Supers, not really. Burst, wall break, general combos. We already talked about kind of Gatling's route. I mean, Gatling's, again, I would like to see Gatling routes expanded for the characters slightly. It doesn't have to be the same or the most robust, but you can only do that if you change other things as well. God, what was it? It was definitely something on my mind, and I can't remember what it was. What was it? It wasn't Gatlings. It wasn't 6P. It wasn't Dust. I can't remember. Couldn't have been that important. But yeah, anyways, there's a lot you could change mechanically in this game, and I really wish they kind of would, on the next patch, I kind of hope they do some sort of system changes, and maybe hold off a little bit on too many character balance changes. It depends on how they want to go. If they want to balance the game more around character balance, they should do so, but I think system mechanics are what they should be looking at. I think this game is kind of incomplete in its system mechanics. I don't think it's quite robust enough yet. I think the game will get stale very quickly. We're already starting to see it get stale a little bit. I personally am enjoying it more than most simplified modern fighting games. You know, we've seen a lot of simplified modern fighting games. This is probably the one that I've enjoyed the most. I think exclusively because it's not built on comeback mechanics. Comebacks are really powerful because the damage is so high, but that's not a comeback mechanic. It's just damage is high. I can handle that. What I couldn't handle is like losing an entire round to a mechanic they built from getting hit. Which, meter build on getting hit is high in this game, but, you know, kind of has to be. Man, I think that might be it. I really know there is something I wanted to talk about, and I can't remember what it was. I guess maybe backdash, but nah. Nah, that's good. That's good. Until next time.